Is your vodka gluten-free? All liquor's gluten-free. I'm pretty sure vodka's got gluten. Wait, where are you going? I'll be right back. I just have to go to the walk-in and scream for a minute. What can I get you? Drunk? Welcome to episode 14 of Behind Bars, Cocktails, and Wasted Nights. I'm your host, Greg. I've been working as a bartender for over 20 years, and over those years, I've seen a lot. My goal here is to share some of those high and low lights with you. Quick warning, this podcast contains sex, drugs, and some language that isn't suitable for anyone under 21 years of age, so you gotta have some ID. A quick shout out to Rollicking Riot, who left a great 5-star review. Thanks a lot. It really helps to get the word out. And if you'd like to get served first, just follow Rollicking Riot's lead. Okay, before we get started, you'll need a drink. For this one, I recommend the Bijou, because it's got 3 ingredients and you'll see the relevance shortly. Well, 4 ingredients if you count the 2 dashes of orange bitters. Damn! Close enough. This cocktail was invented by Harry Johnson, which is a hilarious name, the father of professional bartending, who called it a bijou because it combined the colors of 3 jewels, gin for diamond, vermouth for ruby, and chartreuse for emerald. So, fill your shaker tin with ice and chill a coupe. Pour 1.5 ounces of gin, I like Bombay Sapphire, 3/4 of an ounce of green chartreuse, and 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, and those 2 dashes of orange bitters into your shaker. And stir, Mr. Bond. Dump the ice water from your coupe, strain your cocktail into it, garnish with a lemon twist, and let's fucking get it on. Oh, and if you don't have that, a shot of tequila and a big key bump is the go-to, folks. Okay, on with the story. I had been living with my roommate Matt in stable bliss for 6 years in Hollywood when a life-changing event was about to take place that would shake things harder than a California earthquake. But we'll get to that. Matt and I attended Emerson College in Boston together, and we both moved to the West Coast to do the LA program, where Emersonians matriculated into the world of media. Matt and his audio background would take him to KNX News Radio. My screenwriting background and hedonism took me to Dimple's Karaoke Bar. But hey, we produced a public access television show, so I was kinda using my degree. We lived in a 2-bedroom Hollywood apartment north of Sunset and south of Hollywood between La Brea and Highland. What all this geography means is that we were in earshot of every one of Jimmy Kimmel's band's rehearsals and performances and the Hollywood high school marching band's dissonant attempts at pop hits at 8 a.m. on Sunday mornings when I finally had inserted my boxing mouthguard, slipped on a sleep mask, and laid down and tried to get some sleep for the love of all things holy. Somehow, some way, I still found spaces to write in all the chaos. And this proved to be at first a pain in the ass for Matt, but it soon evolved into something fortuitous. See, I'd constantly ask him for notes on a screenplay I was writing, and they always came back hilarious and organized. In these exchanges, I found myself discussing movie structure with him, character development, plot points and such, and eventually tossed him a couple textbooks, and poof, he became my writing partner. This was a great move, because his humor and sensibilities were in line with mine. I mean, who else would think a megalomaniacal closeted supervillain with a dildo fetish was as hilarious and viable as an antagonist? Matt checked all the boxes. And before long, we got a literary manager. And after that, an agent. And after that, our first screenwriting gig. We were legit. But this isn't a podcast about the movie biz. It's about bars. So let's cut to Dimple's Karaoke Bar. When one innocuous Tuesday, I was holding court with my misfits at the bar, where I was arguing with British Ray to take his parrot and bird shit covered shoulder outside or he was cut off. It was that exact moment when a gorgeous blonde trainee walked in to learn how to serve tables. She wore tight leather pants and was being whisked into the kitchen by Sal to change out of her shirt into a Dimples tank top in front of him in all likelihood. Our eyes met, and it was undeniable. It was weird, like electric somehow. Usually when you see someone hot and they look at you, you go right to the mental image of getting it on. This was different. I imagine us in robes at a breakfast table reading different sections of the newspaper ignoring each other, like we'd been together for a while. How wrong I was. I mean, who saw newspapers going extinct? Just kidding. You know what I mean. She came back out in her tank and Sal introduced us. I couldn't stop from grinning. Sal saw my expression was that of a wolf looking at a human with a steak necklace and was like, "Easy, kid, take it easy on this one. She's new. Jesus." This honestly had never happened to me before, or since. Literally love at first sight. After a little small talk, I learned she was studying to be a teacher and needed a part-time gig, and that yes, she did in fact love Bon Jovi. There was definitely more information exchanged, but those were my takeaways. Larry Oki, who by now had been absorbed onto the payroll by his own fault of drinking there every day, was now running the booth. "Greg, you're up," he said over the booth mic. "Excuse me, sweetie," I said, and lifted the hinge part of the bar, and as I walked past her, I said, "This one's for you." I got on stage, and the keys to Bon Jovi's first hit single, Runaway, started pulsing out of the speakers. The new girl clapped her hands together, let out a yes, giggled, and whipped her gorgeous blonde mane back. I stole a glance at her as I let out the first line. "On the street where you live, girls talk about their social lives." It was done. Me and the new girl were a thing. 3 tumultuous years later, the new girl, who I'll now refer to by her real name, The Enemy, and I were in an on-again stage. We were both terrible. Super toxic. We cheated on each other all the time, and when you do that, it doesn't matter if you get caught or not. You still exhibit jealousy and possessiveness out of a place of guilt. And we were both insane. Translation? Awesome sex. Just awesome. And, turns out, her other part-time job was working the counter at a sex shop, so she had every outfit and every toy you could imagine. I felt bad for Matt having to try to sleep across the hall during our sleepovers, but it was perfect. We were sex, drugs, and rock and roll to the core. But I digress. Back to the me fucking perfect things up. One of my moves when we were off again, who am I kidding, it didn't matter if we were together or not, was to zero in on hot servers I knew would soon be leaving Dimples, either voluntarily or involuntarily. That way we could hook up consequence-free. Believe me, I've learned my lesson about sleeping with coworkers, and that lesson is, if you're gonna fuck, make sure one of you is about to quit or get fired, because it's always fucking weird after, especially in bars. You hook up with someone, and then when patrons start hitting on either of you, smoke starts pouring out of your ears while you're smiling and pretending not to be jealous. At that point, everyone you work with knows you fucked, but you still think you're under the radar. It's comical, actually. Anyways, that September, a gorgeous server, Bree, who happened to have confided her bisexuality in me, was heading off to some far-flung college, which meant she could not fuck up my work life if we hooked up. So, naturally, I confessed my secret crush I'd always had on her. She told me she had a crush on me too, but since I was with the enemy, she never spoke up. "Oh, what a shame," I said, "'cause the enemy thinks you're hot too. We were both kind of hoping you weren't doing anything Thursday." I was so bold back then. Fuck, what happened? Anyways, as you can imagine, there was an awkward silence. Then she blushed. Then she smiled. Then I got a boner. "I'll let you have a think on that," I said, so I could turn around and walk away, then bend over the 3 sinks and wash clean glasses to hide my excitement. The entire night we were both shooting devious looks at each other from across the dining room and from the bar when she put her drink orders up. I didn't even give her a chance to say no. "She loves dress-up parties, so bring something fun to wear," I said, setting her guest's Long Island iced teas up. She blushed again and walked off with her order. She came back, this time needing a glass of Cabernet. "We were thinking 8:30-ish, I continued. All I got was another smile. No verbal response. Shit. Now I was worried I was venturing into the realm of sexual harassment, because if she wasn't into this, I'm now a total creeper making her shift miserable. That's what I hate about sexual harassment. If there's no attraction, it's harassment. If there is attraction, it's a date. She came back to the server station. "What's your address?" she asked. Fuck yes. I leaned over and wrote it on a server ticket, ripped it off and handed it to her. I stayed in that lean position all the way back to the 3 sinks so I could rewash some more clean glasses until I went flaccid again. Now all I had to do was ask the enemy if she was on board. She was. At this point, she was no longer working there, but when I described Bree, she was all in. The stars were aligned that week. Thursday was my 30th birthday, the dirty 30. On top of it, my roommate Matt, who'd fallen madly in love with a nurturing, mentally healthy girl, was taking that girl up north to wine country to make her his fiancée. This is the life-changing event we talked about at the top of the episode. I was super happy for him, that he'd found the perfect partner. And I was super happy for me, in that I found a perfect third partner for the night in an apartment we'd have all to ourselves. I rounded up some Extablow to pair with the stock bar we kept at our place and waited. The enemy and I had some cocktails in anticipation of Bree's arrival, and we went over the game plan. We weren't going to rush anything, or be forward. We didn't want to come off as pervy predator swingers like you see on HBO's Real Sex, but we definitely wanted stuff to go down. She told me to relax and enjoy my birthday, and she'd initiate everything, and that I should just take a back seat and let it play out. Bree called down from the door. I buzzed her into the lobby and went down to fetch her. She looked stunning. High heels, black mini, her blonde hair ironed straight, a little glitter around the eyes. Holy shit, she came to play ball. "You look amazing," I said. "Thank you," she said. Then she raised a bag bigger than her purse. "I brought a few things to try on." Where were those 3 sinks when you needed them? We kind of looked at each other and laughed, silently acknowledging the ridiculous situation we'd arranged in what was the longest elevator ride of my life. We got to the apartment and I introduced Bree to the enemy, and they started touching and giggling and talking about girl things while I poured everyone a drink. This was gonna be great. I handed off the drinks and we cheers to my birthday. Then I set up lines. "Oh, sorry," I faked. "Are you cool with this?" I was chopping up the gear as the question hung in the air. "I've never tried," Bree said. "Would you like to?" I asked. "Why not? I mean, let's have fun tonight," she said. What a gal. Everyone took a drink, did a line, and then I brought out the pills. I took one, offered one to the enemy, who popped it and chased it down with a Cape Cod, and before I had to ask, the smirking Bree already had her hand out, palm open. The 2 of them got along famously. It almost made me jealous, but I was doing my job that we discussed in pregame, making sure everyone had drinks and lines and that my playlist was killing it. You ever see a couple at a strip joint? Dancers love the girlfriends. Love them. The rules don't apply to girls at a nudie bar. They get to touch, caress, kiss nips, and no sane guy in the world is mad at that double standard. Anyways, this is exactly what was going down in my living room. So I was a little drunk and coming up on my roll when I interrupted the girls' conversation that didn't include me. I know I was supposed to take a back seat, but shit, if I wasn't careful, these 2 might have girly talked all night. I blame the Bolivian marching powder. Everyone gets too fucking chatty. It was time to kick things off. "Baby, know what I want for my birthday?" I asked as I took the miniature fiber optic Christmas tree we kept on the TV and laid it on its side so I could project some cool, color-shifting light onto the walls. "What's that, baby?" she asked. "A lap dance," I said. "Ooh, I want to watch," Bree said. Finally, here we go. I was out of line and in the roller coaster as it ascended to its first peak. I sat down, she spread my knees apart, and started dancing. "Wait," I said. "Can you get dressed up for me?" I know, I'm ridiculous. "Of course," she said, and disappeared into my room with Bree. Minutes later, they emerged, transformed. The enemy in a skimpy schoolgirl outfit with white thigh-high stockings, and Bree and her fake boobs suspended in a cupless black bra, belly chain, and tiny black thong that revealed her laser hair removal on the sides of her pee, standing in stiletto heels. I briefly thought of Matt, a stick of ivory soap. So clean, so pure, on one knee, proposing to his girlfriend at some scenic vineyard, ready to settle down and make a normal life. Then I yelled at myself inside to stop thinking about what he was doing, as I was about to have perfect 20-something bodies gyrating all over me and each other. Now, you all know I don't want this podcast to be too much about sex, but hey, you can't always get what you want. I'll spare you most of the details, because you've all seen the internet, but I will cut to a key part of the tryst. We were all rolling face, drunk and super high, and things had been going on for an hour or so. We were at a point of debauchery where something else had entered my brain that shouldn't have. I'll try to be as delicate as possible to describe what transpired. Bree is on all fours getting spit roasted. She's got me in her mouth and the enemy is fucking her with the strap on, rubber balls deep. It's a fucking scene, you guys. I'm serious. I'm having what should have been the greatest time of my life when I look across Bree's naked back and tilt my eyes up to meet eyes with the enemy, and this thought occurs to me. This can't be the mother of my children. I shit you not, that's what popped into my head. To this day it makes me laugh, but in all seriousness, it was the tiny crack in the windshield that spiderwebbed and eventually shattered everything. And that's another episode entirely. Okay, that's the last of the lurid details, because I just wanted to tell you about that thought I had. After everything went down, we all climbed into bed around 8 a.m. and made a snuggly me sandwich. It was the greatest birthday of all time. A year later, we were closing in on Matt's wedding. He's from Pittsburgh, so the family flew into L.A. for the ceremony. Matt's brother Andy stayed with us, and I would soon corrupt him by enlisting his help for the bachelor party. The logistics were rough. Because it was a destination wedding for Matt's friends and family, we couldn't really have the bachelor party early on and have the advisable amount of time to recover. We could only hold it the night before the ceremony. I know. Shit. I was in a tough spot. You don't ask me to throw a bachelor party because you want to play golf and go to a bar. You ask me because you want some degree of moral bankruptcy, and I had a reputation to uphold. At the same time, I had to make sure the boys and the groom's party all made it to the church on time. What to do? What to do? Andy and I sneaked out of the apartment and took a ride down Sunset. I told him I was kind of stuck. I'd done some research, and I had something in mind. I didn't know if it was too far, though. and I was about 400 short.